never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer, fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is a Sunday, so happy Sunday to everybody. And if you were not at SWA Fightmare last night, you missed an incredible show. I'll talk more about that coming up sometime later on this week or next week, depending on whether or not you start your week with Sunday or Monday. I started with Sunday, so to me, I'll talk more about SWA Fightmare coming up sometime later on in the week. But today, as I always do during football season, I want to talk about some of the games from yesterday and Thursday and Friday in the world of college football. Not all the games, not even most of the games, just some of the games that were either close or were supposed to be close but weren't, because I'm not going to come on here and talk about give me games. And what I mean by that is you look at the schedule and there are some games. For instance, yesterday Penn State had homecoming versus UMass. So you know ahead of time, as soon as you see the schedule, that Penn State's going to beat UMass and beat them comfortably. So why talk about that game? It's pointless. But Thursday night, Houston defeated West Virginia 41-39. And if you did not see the ending to that game, great football game, but the game was actually in Houston. And West Virginia scored and went ahead 39-35 with, I think, 12 seconds to go. So Mountaineer quarterback Garrett Green is on the sidelines talking trash to all the Houston fans, doing the throat slash and all that, and then the Cougars get the ball back and score and win the game. Friday night we had Tulane beat Memphis 31-21, and Stanford comes back from being down 29-0 to defeat Colorado in double overtime 46-43. And I was actually on social media yesterday early in the morning, and somebody was saying that it's sad how people are acting so happy about Colorado getting beat. And I told him that it's because of the fact Colorado sucks. They're probably not even going to a bowl game, and if they do, it's going to be some lower tier, nothing bowl that nobody cares about. But the media talks about Colorado nonstop. You would think Colorado is a top 5 football team the way the media right now talks about them. And if they're getting hype like this and they suck, imagine how much Colorado talk we'll start hearing if they start winning. So most people aren't going to want them to win because we don't want to turn on the radio or TV or magazines and all we hear about is Colorado, Colorado, Colorado. Yesterday, Georgia defeated Vanderbilt 37-24. 20. Only reason I bring the game up is because the game was never in doubt. I talked a while ago about give me games. To me, when you seen the schedule and saw that Georgia's playing Vanderbilt, you thought, well, Georgia wins that game. And they did. The game was never in doubt. The game was never in question. But I still heard Georgia fans yesterday afternoon and last night complaining about how they didn't look impressive enough. They let Vandy stick around. And I talked about that some in my video on Friday about how fans are just never happy. Michigan all over Indiana 52-7. Ohio State beat Purdue 41-7. A lot of folks thought that was going to be a close game because for whatever reason, if you look at recent history, most years when Ohio State goes to Purdue, for whatever reason, they struggle. That's the one road game that they always struggle in every time they go there, and you don't know why. It's just one of those things. Between that and the fact that Ohio State's offense just hasn't been impressive this year, a lot of folks thought that was going to be a close game. It wasn't. North Carolina defeated Miami 41-31. I think we're fixing to see the fall of Miami, not just because they made one of the dumbest decisions you ever seen against Georgia Tech, but because if you look at their schedule, it's tough the rest of the year. Pittsburgh, after looking like absolute hot garbage so far this year, they looked impressive by beating Louisville 38-21. Oregon State defeated UCLA 36-24. Utah had their most impressive offensive game of the year by defeating California 34-14. Duke over NC State 24-3. I talked to my man Troy, who is a huge Wolfpack fan, last night, and he said that NC State might have the worst offense in the FBS, and I said, have you watched Iowa play? I mean, statistically, Iowa has the worst offense in the FBS, but if you recall here on the channel before the season started, I said that NC State's going to have a hard time moving the football this year because even though they had Brendan Armstrong transferring in from Virginia, they have no running backs and no receivers. And when you have no running backs and no receivers, it's hard to move the football, not to mention their offensive line looks like doo-doo. Tennessee defeated Texas A&M 20-13. Tennessee's hard to get a read on this year because their offense has taken more than a step back. It's taken about 12 steps back from last year's team, but their defense has took about 6 steps forward. So they're not quite as good as they were last year, but they're not a lot worse because their defense has gotten so much better. A shocking score, not just because a ranked team lost, but the way the ranked team lost. Arizona defeated Washington State 44-6. LSU defeated Auburn 48-18. I would say LSU's defense finally decided to show up, but Auburn's offense is so bad they couldn't score on the field by themselves. Oklahoma State defeated Kansas 39-32. Missouri defeated Kentucky 38-21. And I was talking to a friend of mine at SWA last night before we started the show. He's a huge Kentucky fan. And, of course, the game was late last night. So before SWA started, the game hadn't kicked off yet. And he said he predicted Kentucky loses. And it was going to start the downfall of Kentucky because if you look at their schedule, almost every year they start out 4-0, 5-0, sometimes 6-0, and then they'll finish 75. But it's because they find 3 of the easiest patsy, pancake, non-conference games they can get to start the season. So, of course, they win all 3 of those. And then they'll step in conference play, and they'll play Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, or sometimes Vanderbilt and Arkansas, and those teams are bad. So they're 2-0 in conference play, 5-0 overall, but then they'll start playing Missouri and Tennessee and Georgia and Florida most years, and then Louisville. So then all of a sudden that hot start was for nothing. But it's their way to get their fans excited about the season by actually making you think they're going to be worth something when they're not bad, but they're just a 6-6, 7-5, occasional 8-4 football team. Rutgers defeated Michigan State 27-24. Florida, in a slugfest, high-scoring slugfest, defeated South Carolina 41-39. Virginia Tech defeated Wake Forest 30-13. TCU all over BYU 44-11. Iowa defeated Wisconsin 15-6. I think Iowa had 74 passing yards in the game, so their passing game is pretty much non-existent. And Kansas State defeated Texas Tech 38-21. And then I will not tell you the score in the Notre Dame USC game. I want you to go look it up if you do not know yet. And that just goes to show you how bad USC's defense is. Because if you followed Notre Dame this year, their offense has looked average at best all year. But against USC yesterday, all of a sudden their offense looks like a top 5 offense. And it's not close. But against USC's defense, it was close. I heard somebody last week say that Lincoln Riley is holding USC back because he just absolutely refuses to play defense. Like, he don't even care. Lincoln Riley coaches defense like James Harden plays defense in the NBA. I've always said that James Harden's name should be James Herron because there's no D in Harden. Well, that's kind of the same way Lincoln Riley is. He doesn't coach defense, no, but he's hired somebody to coach defense, and their defense consistently sucks every week, every year, all year long, never gets better, has never showed any sign at all of improvement, but Lincoln's okay with that. I really feel like he thinks if our offense can be as explosive as I think we can be, I don't care if we give up 45 because we're going to score 50. Everybody in America wants their DC gone, and I'm never going to say that anybody should be fired, but the way their DC coaches defense, he should be fired, but I just don't think Lincoln cares. Again, any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Did you know that Darth Vader has a daughter named Ella Vader? And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.